What's up, guys? It's Monday, February 22nd, 2021, and you're listening and or watching to FritzCast. Welcome to the show this week. And this week, we have a great guest for you. We have Joshua Smith, host of Break the Cycle, candidate for LNC Chair multiple times now, and coming up for the 2022 cycle. And me and Josh just, we really hit it off, man. We talked about everything from his background, his history, walking into libertarianism, all the problems with the Libertarian Party, the hate towards the Mises Caucus, and the biggest messaging failure of the Libertarian Party this past year. And these are important conversations. It's an important discussion. And I just loved talking to Josh every minute. Loved every minute of it. And I know you guys are going to love it too. So without further ado, let's get to the program. Joshua Smith, welcome to the FritzCast, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for having me on, Fritz. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. You're my favorite shit poster on Twitter.
I am the shit poster that your mother warned you about. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's me.
The shit poster. Oh, man. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. I actually just finished a 12-hour shift about an hour ago, and that was 120 hours I've worked in this pay period. So,
Lord.
Yeah, it was switching between days and nights. So I've been really tired, and I've done like 5 podcast interviews during that pay period too. And it's like, I'm like, what? Huh? Oh yeah, you're asking a question. I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'm doing good, man. I'm happy. I got the family and the show and the Libertarian Party and the movement, and it's been really cool. It's been a really interesting time. So
that's awesome. And I can agree with you. I don't do 12-hour shifts, but I do midnight work. And that is just, it can wreak havoc on.
It's brutal, man.
Day-to-day stuff. Yeah, it's
crazy. You never get used to the overnight shift. I know nurses who work overnight all the time. You just never get used to it. You always feel like a zombie. You never get good enough sleep during the day. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that I'm not typically a night shift guy, but we got somebody that went out with COVID, and we had to cover all of his shifts. So I took 4 night shifts. I usually only work the day shift, so it was kind of hard to cycle back and forth. But I made it work, and now my family will be rewarded with a wonderful paycheck, so.
Hey man, I mean, if there's one thing that we can't complain about during these COVID times, is if you're still working and getting a paycheck, you don't have too much that you can complain about, I don't think.
Absolutely.
So let's start it off. I mean, I'm going to ask you, give me a little bit of Joshua Smith's history. You don't have to go back to, little baby Joshua Smith, but
no, you don't want to know about little baby Joshua. He was a total poop factory, that guy.
Oh, okay. All
absolutely.
Right. Fair enough. But let's go into a little bit of your background, especially in your walk to libertarianism, because it seems everybody, didn't start out as a libertarian. So let's go into that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I grew up religious and kind of neoconish. I was definitely a war hawk. And after 9/11, I joined the military pretty much right after 9/11. Attached to the USS Constellation. I was a big part. That ship was the biggest part of the shock and awe campaign. We were actually in the Persian Gulf doing a routine patrol when George Bush declared war. So I got to see the war machine at firsthand, 18 years old, 19 years old. And I wasn't happy with it. I was really, really jaded on the war machine. We were dropping bombs in Baghdad, and all I could think of is like, there's kids that live here. There's family pets and dreams and goals and aspirations and family cars. And it was really hard to deal with. It's kind of coming to terms with the fact that I was an anti-war advocate, and I'm sitting here in war now. I wasn't prior to the war, but the war definitely made me that way. And so when I got out of the military in 2005, I just didn't find a home in the Republicans anymore. The Republicans still wanted war. The Democrats definitely support war because they're all big cronies with the military industrial complex and the military contractors and stuff. And so I kind of just fell away from politics a little bit until 2007 when I was sitting in a bar and I saw a gentleman named Ron Paul speaking on the TV. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? Wow, this guy's awesome. He's talking about blowback and he's going at it. When he retired, he called Congress a bunch of psychopaths. I mean, this was my like, dude, so I was like, well, I'm still a registered Republican. I didn't really know about the Libertarian Party at the time much. I probably heard the name in passing, but so I worked on Ron Paul's campaign in 2008 in Oakland, California. I mean, that's where I lived at the time, and I'm from there, born and raised. But so I started working on this campaign. That was my first foray really into politics. Prior to that, I didn't know what my ass from the hole in the ground. I obviously supported George Bush and his war until I went and fought in his war, and then realized that those people weren't my people. But Ron Paul was great. So that really opened my mind to this like libertarian think. I didn't know to call it libertarianism at the time, but I started getting into reading, and I found Murray Rothbard and F.A. Hayek and Milton Friedman, and then further down the line got into like David Friedman, and I really just kind of took this segue into a open window that you can't close again. I mean, when you become that person, it's very hard to turn around and be like, oh, I was wrong. The state's actually a great thing. We should be at war. We should keep printing money out of thin air. You can't close that window. And so after watching the GOP absolutely screw over Ron Paul. I mean, like his name was Bernie Sanders, right? I was done with the Republican Party. I wasn't going to be a Republican anymore. And it's really up for debate how I learned about the Libertarian Party. I contend that it was an Adam Kokesh video. I was watching him talk about the Libertarian Party, but Adam swears up and down at that time he was still in the Republican Party. So it may not have been, it may be somebody else, but I joined the Libertarian Party for the first time in 2010. And I basically gave my money to the party for about 3 months. I reached out to a bunch of people. I was this hyped up activist. I just worked on Ron Paul's campaign a year and a half prior. I was ready to go, and no one ever got a hold of me. Literally didn't have one person send me an email back from the emails that I had sent to the National Party. I think I had emailed the California State Party at the time. And I was this young, hyped up anti-war activist who was ready to do whatever it took to make this Libertarian Party a fighting force against these two old parties that I now saw as the enemy. And so I stopped donating, and then I just kind of did my own thing for a while. I, followed Ron Paul in 2012 again. And then sometime around 2014 or 15, me and a bunch of friends got together and we founded Think Liberty, which is a pretty successful publication now. And then in 2015, I joined the Libertarian Party again. I was watching this run up to the presidential election, and I'm going, there's no fucking way I'm going to deal with these two, Trump and Hillary. No. Not going to happen, And so I was like, I knew who Gary Johnson was from his 2012 run. I was like, well, I'll join the Libertarian Party, see what I can do there to help out again. And this time I was living in Southern Washington. And so I went to the Washington State Libertarian Convention, and it was in like a penthouse above someone's apartment. Right. And I showed up, and I had registered to become a member of the state party already. And they're like, who here is from Region 5? I was like, oh, I think that's my region. I'm from Region 5. They're like, great, you're the regional representative for Region 5 now, because there was nobody else from my region, Wow. And so this was my first like foray into actually working with like parties and how to like grow the party itself. And so I went back down to my region in Southern Washington, and I started learning how to build affiliates and recruiting people for the party and recruiting candidates to run for office. And I learned a lot, man. It was kind of this trial and error thing. I didn't really have a lot of help. In fact, the county party in that area, right after I became the region rep, the whole leadership for the county party stepped down. So I had to help rebuild that party. I had to go. There was 4 other counties in my affiliate that didn't have any representation. So I started building affiliates there. We got a city councilman elected. It was a cool time. And then in 2016, after the election, I had been this big Nick Sarwark fan. And now I'm watching, all of a sudden, Nick Sarwark took this hard turn. We started going after people like Tom Woods, and started going after people like Dave Smith and Eric July, who I cherish. I mean, I love these people, especially Tom. Tom's one of the sweetest dudes you will ever meet. I know he sometimes brings out his sharp-edged sword online to people who are condescending to him or talking a lot of shit to him, but he's just the sweetest man I've ever met in my life. And he teaches people about libertarianism on a daily show that has more followers than the Libertarian Party has members. And so when I started seeing him go after these really awesome people, I was like, no, that's not cool. So I started calling some big name libertarians. Hey man, you got to run against this Nicholas Sarwark guy. He's got to go. And everyone was like, you're crazy. You're crazy, man. He's the most popular chairman the party's ever had. And So I just did it. I just decided I was going to do it. I put out my intent to run statement, and I didn't beat him, obviously, but I did get a position on the board as an at-large representative. I was the third highest vote getter in 2018 for that position, and there's 5 spots. And then I ran again in 2020 against Joe Bishop Hinchman, and I got much closer. I was about 100 votes away from actually winning chair, and I ended up being the second highest vote getter for at-large again. So I'm in my second term now as an at-large representative, and I did announce that I'm running for chair again back in October, November. So I am currently running for chair again. And we'll see how it goes. I think we've built a good following. We've built some great momentum, and it's been hell of a road for me to get to where I am now. Traveling to 40 states, having my family attacked by some of these shitheels in the party that have gone after my family and my personal life. And I put it all out on the line, and I've worked my ass off, and I've grown this party tremendously. And I hope that when we get to Reno, Nevada in 2022, the delegates will see that and give me the opportunity to do it from the biggest platform in the party.
Wow, and there's a lot to unpack with that too. Just going in and out. When you, like how you said, when you started off in the party, like when you dived in, did you feel like that, like you said, you were reaching out, trying to communicate with people, but it just wasn't there? There was like no lines of communication. Did you just feel like this was something that you had to dive in and figure out yourself? Like it didn't seem like there was a helping hand around when you got
No,
in?
not at all. And to some extent that was still going on when I rejoined the party in 2015. It still didn't seem like there was, there's a lot of people in this country that look at the Libertarian Party and go, the Libertarian Party's a joke. And we can fight with them and argue with them, or we can understand why our processes have made them feel that way. And my first foray into the Libertarian Party, that was my experience, that this party was a joke. It didn't want hardworking activists. It didn't care about our voices, and it wasn't ever going to be anything. And so I understood where those people that are saying that are coming from. And it's one of, when I got involved in the party, that was one of the first things I wanted to change. I talked about how if I became chair, we would work on new member packets. As soon as a member joined the national party, we would send them out a packet with all their state information, how to get involved, what candidates they can help. This very easy, simple thing that would cost us probably $5 per new membership, that would immensely get people involved in the causes in their local areas. And so, it was just kind of like I seen all these things that needed to be changed that these people think were a joke because of, and I wanted to change them. And that was another reason why I just kept on going up the ladder in this party and trying to work harder and finding more areas where we could improve. But yeah, absolutely, it was, it was kind of, I felt very unsupported. I felt like they didn't want my membership. They didn't want my work. They didn't want my activism. And that's something that needs to change. And I think it's getting a lot better now, even, with leadership that I may not agree with. They're doing better at that now, but I've always put a huge emphasis on membership. I think the membership is the lifeblood of the party. They're they're literally what drives this party to success. And if we're not taking care of our members and not making them feel like they're part of the process, then why would they stay?
Yeah. And that's the interesting point to bring up here, because when we talk about dues paying members of the Libertarian Party, it's like it's like 20,000, isn't it? It's like a really
it's very
low number.
small. Yeah, compared. You got to think the National Libertarian Party is operating on less than $1.7 million a year. The National Republican Party is in terms of that is like over $100 million a year, or 200 million. You know what I mean? It's an insane amount. It's a financial juggernaut that we have to compete with. And if we're not making our members feel welcome, then we're not going to get those dollars, and it's going to continue to be more of the same. We don't have the resources to prop up federal candidates. And so if we don't have the resources to prop up federal candidates, we're never going to make a difference at the federal level. We're just now starting to get to a place where we can make a difference at the state level. We're getting state legislators elected. Finally, we have 2 that were elected in the last election cycle, first time since the 70s. We are really doing well at the local and state level, which I've put a huge emphasis on, and you can look to people like Jeff Hewitt from California, who is an amazing star for the Libertarian Party. He started out as running for city council, then he became the mayor. Now he's the Riverside county supervisor. He's one of the county supervisors there. They have a population that's bigger than 5 other states. They have a budget of like $2 billion just for the county, and he's able to do lots of really cool libertarian things at that level, and work with other county supervisors and learn how politics works in that area. And so I've put a big emphasis on local and state elections, but local and county elections too, because that's where we can win. That's where we can show our constituency that we can make a difference in their lives locally, and that's when we'll start to make names for ourselves. So, I think the Libertarian Party forgot about that for a long time, and the National Party's just always sunk all their resources into one presidential election every 4 years, and then kind of had to reel themselves back from that for the next 4 years. And I think that's another thing the party started working on, like the Frontier Project on state issues, which has been wonderful. I mean, really, we can attest our state legislator wins in Wyoming to the Frontier Project and Paul Panzel and all the hard work that they've done. So hopefully we can get more members, get more money, and drive that program and make that a much bigger program around the country, and start going into states like Rhode Island, where they have less than 1 million people, or North Dakota or South Dakota, where we can start, taking some of these state leg seats and making a big difference in the legislature. So.
Yeah, obviously I can tell that you're of the same mindset that I am, where focusing things down on a local level is far more important than just popping up every 4 years and throwing out a candidate, whoever it may be, whether it's a Gary Johnson or a Joe Jorgensen, or as some people are trying to say now, let's get some kind of celebrity status person in there. I think the local level is just more actionable. It's something that people see. And then if they hear, oh, who's that guy that's doing this thing, at our local county level, they're like, oh, that dude's a libertarian. And it kind of like puts a spark in their brain where they're like, well, libertarian, what is that? And they want to look in more. And so at that point, they're reaching out to their state parties. From my understanding, depending on what state you're in, there's some states that have like these nice, big, strong, communicative parties that are, going out. They're trying to make that community impact and make that name for themselves, which is great. It's just that on a national scale, we don't have that buildup yet.
Sure. And that's the truth. We're gonna win at the state level before we ever really win at the federal level, and we have to put some resources and focus on the state level, or it's pointless for us to keep dropping money on these federal races and the presidential election. I mean, we have to have a presidential election every 4 years. We have to have a candidate because it's what helps us keep ballot access in like something like 20 states. And a lot of people don't understand that is something that we're constantly fighting, this ballot access Leviathan, right? I mean, it literally is the demon that the Libertarian Party has to face in every state almost, like states like Tennessee, where we literally cannot get on the ballot without an absurd amount of signatures. And it costs us, it's almost costs us more than it's even worth to run candidates as an libertarian in Tennessee. I mean, it's just this constant battle. We have all these things that are constantly working against us, and these policies are put in place by, guess who? The Republicans and the Democrats, right? And so, yeah, man, it's definitely, I think we'll get there, but it's going to take some new leadership. It's one of the reasons why I'm running for chair. It's one of the reasons why I push the Mises Caucus so hard, because I think that they understand what I'm saying and what is going to make us more successful. They understand that a Libertarian Party that focuses on winning smaller elections first is really going to be able to start taking bigger elections later. And I think that they have the right blueprint, and they've shown that, they're with staunch, like unapologetic libertarian messaging, we can also grow the party, which is one of my biggest things. I'm an unapologetic libertarian. I'm not going to say sorry for my libertarian views. I want a party that has focused, principled messaging goals that mirror that unapologetic libertarian stance, because that's what's going to bring libertarians to the party. And I've been the let's merge the libertarian movement and the Libertarian Party guy for the last 5 years. And so that's why I push the Mises Caucus, because I know for a fact that they are the ones over the last 4 years that have grown this party immensely. I mean, from 13,000 members to over 20,000 members. I know that they were the biggest part of that. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the data for it. And I think that that's the direction we should be moving in.
No, and I will agree to that before I go into my next little segment on the Mises Caucus and kind of the inner workings of the Libertarian Party, is that I've seen that firsthand in my home state of Delaware, because I think there's 20 of us that just in the last like 3 weeks have kind of come together as, self-identified LP Mises Caucus members in the state. And it seems like we're doing more organized, things and pushing for things more than the state party has, and that's kind of crazy to me because I'm like, it's just 20 of us.
That's not the only state that's happening in either, man. I mean, there's a lot of states where the Mises Caucus is the state party at this point, but one of the Mises Caucus founders was living in Delaware when this thing started, David Hines. So he was the Delaware state party guy. And then you got Dave Casey there, who's amazing. I love Dave Casey. And Dave vs. Goliath, if you haven't seen he just put out a really cool show. He's an awesome, funny guy. He makes really good memes. But yeah, Delaware, that's true. I mean, the Mises Caucus in Delaware, I mean, there's other state parties too. I'm not going to go out on a limb and start naming them all and making state parties mad at me, but there are some state parties where the Mises Caucus is the state party or is outworking the state party at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. So next step that I want to go though is because it seems to be that this is like a big fighting point on, at least on Twitter, social media, you see it a lot. This fight against the Mises Caucus, this shitting on Dave Smith, shitting on you, Tom Woods, and a bunch of others too. And maybe it did stem back to Nick Sarwark. Maybe it goes deeper than that. I'm not sure. But where's all the fighting coming from against the Mises Caucus?
Well, it goes a lot deeper than Nick Sarwark. I mean, this started with the Cato Mises split. I mean, years and years and years ago, Murray Rothbard and the Koch brothers, I mean, had this big falling out and split because Murray Rothbard was an unapologetic anarcho-capitalist libertarian, and he wasn't going to give up those principles for anybody. And the Kochs wanted to focus on, okay, well, we need to win elections. And so to win elections, we got to drop some principles here and there and there. And that's kind of where the Cato Mises split happened at. And so when you see this fight inside the party with the pragmatists and the Mises Caucus, a lot of those pragmatist people, those are the Cato people. I mean, the Andy Craigs of this world, Andy Craig literally writes for Cato. You know what I mean? And goes out and attacks Dave Smith and goes out and attacks Tom Woods and calls them racists and neo-Nazis and neoconservatives. And, he's had plenty of choice words to say about me too, but, prove it. Just fucking prove it, man. Cause they can't, they have these, what a lot of people call them leftists, but it's just that they're using leftist tactics. Repeat this propaganda over and over and over again until everyone believes it. But that fight stems way back. I mean, pretty much before the founding of the Libertarian Party, but a little bit in the future as well. And essentially what happened is a lot of the Rothbardian kind of libertarians walked away from the party and just handed it over to Cato. And that's when we kind of got away from that really principled radical messaging, and we started getting more into the Gary Johnson, Bill Weld. Bill Weld was a Raytheon lobbyist, for crying out loud. Give me a break. He was on the board, and so that's that split. They kind of walked away, and now what's happened, what you're seeing is the Mises libertarians and the radical libertarians and the radical anarcho-capitalists and the people who are unapologetically libertarian and refuse to let their principles down are now coming back to the party. And that really scares the Cato libertarians, because they have had a lot, or the pragmatists or the Beltway libertarians or whatever you want to call them. There's so many different names that, are used, but they're terrified because in the 2 decades that they've, over a decade now, almost 2 decades that they've held the power in the party, they have not been effective. They just haven't been effective, and they know that we're going to be able to just grow this party if we make it this principled thing, and they're going to lose their platforms. Some of these people have become so used to having this big giant platform in this little tiny pond. There's really big fish because everybody in the party knows who they are, but nobody outside the party knows who they are. And so if we grow the party to a county chair stealing money in Clark County, Washington, right? He was embezzling money from the GOP. Nobody in the GOP knew about that, because no one knew who he was, because the party's so big, not everybody knows each other. But in the Libertarian Party, we know everybody. We know everybody from online. We know everybody from conventions. I mean, we know everybody. So they have this big platform and they feel special, but if you grow that pond, the fish get smaller, right? And they don't want to lose that platform. They've been so comfortable, and they're losing their platform. And they're, we've got to a point now when they start throwing out these accusations and stuff at us, we just tell them to shut up. We just call them nerds, and people are like, oh, you're acting terrible. I'm like, this guy's been calling me a Nazi for 5 years. This lady that I just said that to, reached out to my daughter and tried to bribe her with a phone to make a bad post about me on Facebook. This guy over here has been calling me a deadbeat dad and going after my mother. You know what I mean? Like, they're nerds. And I don't give them credence in the arguments anymore. I don't sit there and try to have these like, honest arguments with them anymore, because they're not honest people. They're not arguing from an honest place. And so I think the whole caucus and all these new people coming in the party have all kind of taken the same stance, like, go to your virtual locker, dude. We don't care anymore. We're not worried about your accusations anymore. We have a mission, we have a goal, and that goal is to see a Libertarian Party that's a fighting force against the Democrats and the Republicans. And in the words of Michael Heiss, if you're one of those people that are offended by words, we don't need you, because we're going up against people that will napalm your children. We need soldiers, and so I think that we've just kind of all just been fed up with it, and we're done playing their little let's have an honest dialogue conversation. And we're like, all right, nerd, get out of the way. We're the biggest block in the party now, and you're not going to stop us. That game's already been won, and it's going to piss some people off. Some people are going to get mad, but I'm tired of watching the party that I love be ineffective, and I think that it's becoming more effective, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, and that's something that I keep saying. If you want to go on Dave Smith's program and debate him, because at the end of the day, I'll watch it because he's going to wreck you.
Yeah, he breaks.
I'm going to watch it. Yeah, I'm going to watch it because he's going to wreck you. Because at the end of the day, you can't even bring up a valid argument or a point as to why you hate him and that this wing of the party. It's just noise. And sure. I have mad respect for you guys for just kind of like brushing them off and saying it's a joke. We're not going to deal with that. We're going to focus on, real deal, serious stuff. So I appreciate you guys for that.
Oh, thanks, man.
So on top of that, which, by the way, I've been referring to the Mises Caucus takeover. I've been referring to it as like a reclaiming of the libertarian. That's the way I see it. It's what it libertarians coming back, taking back what was ours and making it and moving forward with it, because it's clear what's not going to work. And when I have these arguments with people who think a little bit differently, more of the Cato style, probably, as you were saying, when they talk about, well, but Gary Johnson, and we had 5 million votes almost. I'm like, yeah, it was Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and that's all we could scrounge up. And it was on this platform of like, we're the best of both worlds. No, it doesn't work.
And I want to be clear. It also didn't translate into new members. I mean, a lot of people joined the party in 2009 or 2016, but they all left. There was only like something like 7% of the party is from the class of 2016. It didn't translate into party growth at all. The Jorgensen campaign translated into more party growth really than the Johnson campaign did. And that's saying a lot, because she only got like 1.5 million votes, man. So
yeah, absolutely. So in moving away from the unpacking the mess of the Libertarian Party, you have a show coming out. You're working on a show right now. So let's go into a little bit of this. What is Break the Cycle?
So it's going to be a kind of a variety show. Obviously, it's going to have political undertones to it. I'm a political guy. I work in electoral politics. I'm staunch believer in anarcho-capital philosophy. I'm a big Murray Rothbard fan, Mises fan, obviously. But it's going to be a variety. I got a lot of really cool guests lined up. People like Moshre, Dave Smith, Michael Bolden. Just so many others. Freckled Liberty, and God, I have a long list. Eric Brakey, or Senator Brakey, who you're having on soon. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite state legislators around the country. I'm excited to talk with him. But it's going to be a live show. I'm going to do it live Wednesday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and then Fridays that'll be a solo show. There may be guest hosts here and there that are like not like big names, but like guest hosts. And then on Fridays I'll be doing interview shows at the same time. I started doing this podcast over a year ago. I started doing Break the Cycle as just an audio cast. I really wanted to do a podcast for a long time. I thought I had what it took to do a podcast, and I talked to a lot of people. I'm like, what equipment do I need? What do I got to buy? What can I get to make do this and that and this and that? And everyone's like, dude, just do it. Just go for it. And so I started actually recording this audio podcast on my phone, and I was doing like scripted audio podcasts, and I did a couple episodes, and I just wasn't happy with the direction. I'm not really a script kind of guy, but I was worried that I wasn't going to be good enough to do it without the script. And so I put out like 3 or 4 episodes. I did one interview show with Buck Johnson from Death to Tyrants, which was a really good show. He's now changed it to a new name. I can't remember what it is right now, but he's amazing. Find Buck Johnson. He's one of my favorite guys. And so then life kind of happened. You know, I was traveling a lot for my campaign in 2020, and I met my girlfriend, and then we hit it off really good, and she got pregnant, and I ended up moving to Iowa. We had our baby December 31st, so we just were pregnant for 9 months. I ended up getting custody of my 16-year-old daughter and her 2 younger siblings that are not mine biologically, but I was able to get custody of them so they didn't go to foster care. My girlfriend already had 2 kids. We had the baby on the way. My daughter is pregnant. She's giving birth here any day now. Actually, her doula goes on call tomorrow. So life kind of happened. I didn't really have the time to dedicate to a podcast that I really wanted. I wanted to have regular content. I wanted to do it right. And I just, you know, I decided, I had been thinking about it for a long time. I wanted to do a video show. I wanted it to be video. I wanted to have really good video and good audio. And I knew that was going to take me more than just using the webcam on my computer. So I started, you know, over the last year, I've been amassing equipment. I got, you know, lights and RGB lights, and I got a Canon M50 so that I could do 1080p, and some really nice lenses so we can do wide angle with a nice aperture and a good mic and a good setup and all this stuff. And then I started putting it together and realizing, you know, I got a stream deck so I can control my whole stream by touch buttons. And then I started working on the programming, and I got all this stuff together. And when I finally hooked my M50 up to my old iMac, the processor was not fast enough to run a live stream show. So now I have to get a whole new computer. And so my show is supposed to start on the 24th, this coming Wednesday. My computer's not here yet. So I'm fingers crossed. If not, it'll probably get pushed out one more week. But I finally got the equipment I wanted. I finally got the direction I want to take the podcast. I know what I want Break the Cycle to be. I don't want it to just involve the Libertarian Party. I want it to be a show that everybody can come to. Normies can learn from. Libertarians can be entertained by. Anarcho-capitalists can have a good time watching great names on the show. I'll have, you know, picture-in-picture screen, like it'll be set up really nice right here on this great couch. With these great lights, with Papa Paul behind me. I think it'll be a good time. I think it's going to be a good show, and I think it'll be successful. I've really put a lot of thought into it. I've really put a lot of time, and I've invested a lot of money already into doing it right. So I just hope that people like it. We hit 1,000 subscribers today on the YouTube. That was really, really cool. I really appreciate it. I know you helped out there, and some other people helped out too. All my shit posting friends on Twitter, I love you guys so much. I can't tell you how much you mean to me. My shit posting community, #Tower Gang. They're really cool people. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good show. I think people will enjoy it. I think it'll be fun. And hopefully I don't drone on and on and on like I am right now.
No, man, no, it's not droning on and on. And honestly, like you know, when I started off my show, I kind of did, you know, what you did. Like, you know, you write out a little script, you try to follow it, and then you're just like, I can't do this. And you know, I found anyway that once I ditched the scripts, people were like, oh no, we like Ranting Fritz. Ranting Fritz is great.
It's better. It's real. Yeah. It's raw.
It's organic.
Not,
yeah. It's organic. It's not this, you know, hey, I'm a fake guy. I'm here, you know, to do my show and try to be the, you know, nah, it's whatever, you know, and it's cool. It's totally cool. And I like your setup, and I'm really excited for your show to start.
I really appreciate that, man. I'm excited for it to start too. I'm a little, I'll tell truth be told, I'm scared as shit. You know, I went from this audio podcast where no one could see me and it was scripted and I could edit it to, you know what, I'm going to really put myself on a limb here and do this show live. I'm going to deal with whatever technical difficulties come my way on the fly. You know, I really wanted to make it something where I didn't have the opportunity to script anything anymore. It had to be, you know, I have a bullet point, I have an agenda, and then I go. I think I do better that way. And I learned that on my campaigns for national chairman. You know, when my first campaign, I went around the country with a speech wadded up in my pocket, and I'd pull it out and put it on the podium, and I'd read the speech, you know, and I'd watch the videos and God, you sound like a robot. You know, I know I say, you know, a lot. I know I say a lot, but you those things are better than sounding like an absolute robot all the time, you know? Yeah. And so that's what I did. I ditched the speeches, and in 2020, I went around, I didn't even carry a speech on the national convention stage. I just got up there, I debated, it was the best debate I'd ever done in my life, best speech I'd ever given in my life. And I didn't script anything. I didn't even bullet point those things, you know? And so it was like, that kind of gave me the impression like, okay, you need to do this on the fly. You need to do this live, and you need to make it look good. If you're going to suck, at least make it look good. You know?
Right.
and have
Right.
good guests on. And so, yeah, I think it'll be good. And I think it'll be much better. If you've heard my old audio podcasts from over a year ago, it's going to be a much better show. It's going to be a much more real and raw show. It's going to have a lot more content, and I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out and attack the throat of a cowardice society, because that's what I promised to do on my show.
No, I'm looking forward to it. That's bold, and I think when it comes to Libertarian Party, this is what we need. We need more passion, more bold, more striking. None of this, hey, let's happily negotiate some kind of like centrist point. No,
Mm-mm.
it doesn't work. It's not good for our ideals. It's not good for our principles. So forget it. Tell it like it is.
Unapologetic libertarianism.
Unapologetic libertarianism. So you're running for chair again, and I've been able to say I've interviewed you. I've interviewed Angela McCardle as well, and I don't know if anybody else has announced.
I don't think anybody else is announced for chair. No, just me and her, and we're both from the Mises Caucus. So
yeah. So, oh no, the takeover. Oh God,
it's a win-win, really. I mean,
yeah.
I love Angela, and the only thing I'm going to say about Angela is I love Angela. She's a great friend of mine. I've worked very closely with her. She's always been wonderful. If she was to become chair of the National Libertarian Party, I'm going to be a very happy person. I'll tell you that much. There's no doubt about it. She's the right direction for the party. I think she'll do a wonderful job. I just think that I have a little bit more national leadership experience than her. That's why I'm running. And I also believe that me winning would be absolute fuck you to the people in this party that are absolutely vile after 4 years of them going after me and attacking me and my friends. So I feel like I owe it to this party to become the national chairman. But like I said, if she wins, I would love to work with her going forward in any capacity that I can, because she's stellar. She's awesome.
Yep. And we've talked about mild improvements now. How do you feel about Joe Bishop Henchman and what he's done with his little tenure that has been going on?
I don't agree with him on much. I don't think he's a very good nuts and bolts accountant style kind of guy, and he knows legal stuff pretty well because he's a lawyer, he's a tax lawyer. But as far as his messaging, it's not great. He's that very radical centrist messaging. And the one good thing that I will say about Joe is he's not an outward attacker like Nicholas Sarwark. He doesn't go out and try to stir up all this drama. I just don't think the messaging is on point. I don't think that his goals are the same as mine. Mine's a radically larger membership, more activists in the party, more people that are going to work on campaigns. His is more, let's find only big donors. We can't afford all these little donors. And so we diverge on just about everything.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that he's a very nice person. I think he's got a good heart. He's not trying to tank everybody around him all the time. He's not super malicious. Him and his husband are both really, really great guys. And I appreciate them both. They actually, his husband crocheted a blanket for our son that was just born, and so his first baby blanket is Joe Bishop Henchman's husband made it for us. And Ethan's a sweet guy. They're just sweet people. They're really nice people. Yeah. He's not a malicious person. So I really appreciate that about Joe, that he's, we don't agree on how he's running the party, but he's not going out and trying his hardest to fuck over the movement in any capacity. I don't agree with the fact that they ended the affiliate program. I think that was kind of an attack on the Mises Caucus personally, but he still didn't go out and outwardly say like, fuck you guys, you guys suck. And Tom Woods is a neo-Confederate and he doesn't do that stuff. So I appreciate that about him very much.
Yeah, that's the way that I put it when people were asking me about it. I said, well, at least it's not Nick Sarwark, but how much, what is that really saying?
I would have taken 3 rotten potatoes in a trench coat over Nick Sarwark for the leader of this party. Man. That's for sure.
So yeah, exactly. And it's sad to say, because I started off like you did, respecting him at first, and then this just turn happened, and I was like, what the hell? This isn't about you. It's not everything is about you.
The CIA is not sending their best, Fritz.
Oh God. So as we're moving forward as the Libertarian Party, what do you think are, like, I'm not going to say like the top 5, but what do you think like a handful of the biggest issues that we need to be attacking right now are going on, both federally and at a state level as well? Like
we only really need to talk about one currently, and it's the tyranny on a silver platter that we've been handed over the last year. you know,
Yeah.
and it sucks because we have a chairman that's been quiet about it during his entire tenure, but we've been locked in our fucking homes, man. We've been told we can't open our businesses. You know, we've been told that our children can't go to school. We've been told that we can't go to work. I mean, this is blatant tyranny, and people say it's in the name of public health. No, it's not. It was never about public health, you know. And maybe at the very first when they stopped travel from China, like that was a public health thing. But the fact that we didn't give people the option to go to work and feed their fucking families, and we decided that we were going to instead try to give them $1,200 once every, I don't know, 6 months.
Yeah.
The party stayed quiet about it. It just blows my mind. I mean, that was probably the biggest misstep this party has ever had at least since the beginning of the Iraq war in 2003 or 2002, right? The second Iraq war. I don't know about the 80s. In 1989, I was 6. I don't really know what the Libertarian Party was doing back then, but I do know that in 1988, Ron Paul ran for president in the Libertarian Party. So I'm sure they said something about it in 1989.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, it was the biggest misstep the party's had. We had this shit handed to us on a silver platter. We got Democrats leaving the Democratic Party. We got Republicans leaving the Republican Party because they watched their governors and their state legislators and their congressmen and their senators tell them that they weren't allowed to do what they needed to do to feed their families. And the Libertarian Party should have been the one anti-lockdown, anti-tyrannistic party. And we shut up and we were quiet. And you know, I think that we had a chairman who was afraid to offend people in the party that might have supported this as a public health measure. But I don't give a shit. Like what we just went through for the last year and are still going through today in many states. You know, I'm lucky to live in Iowa where they've lifted the mask mandate. They've let our children go back to school. They've let all the restaurants open back up. And guess what? The cases aren't rising, man. You know, so I'm lucky to live in a state like that. But, you know, these people are done with these two parties because they watched them not give a shit about their livelihood, their families. And what did we do to capitalize on that? Nothing. And so going forward, we need to be the party that says, look, we're the only party that was against this stuff. We're the only party in this country because the Greens aren't against it. The Republicans say they're against it, but then they vote in favor of all this bullshit. And the Democrats are literally the orchestrators, right? We got people like Governor Whitmer and J.B. Pritzker and Cuomo and Newsom. I mean, you can literally name the governors that have enforced this shit to a T and guarantee that there's a D next to their name. And you can see how fucked up their states are from it. You know, New York, they literally committed genocide in New York. You know, they killed seniors. They purposely sent COVID positive people into these nursing homes. As somebody who worked in nursing homes for 10 plus years, it should be a crime what they did. He should be in prison. He shouldn't be in Gitmo. He should be under Gitmo. You know what I mean? For what he's done. Yeah. And you know, the Democrats are like making excuses for it. It's like it's a third of the deaths in this country came from New York.
Yeah, they're making excuses for it. The media lauded him all throughout, and he even got to write a book and score money on the side for
he won an Emmy.
Great he did.
He like won an Emmy or some shit. I'm like, what are you talking? This guy committed genocide. I mean, he literally killed seniors off to make Trump look bad. And it's now they're getting documents that are showing he knew what was going on. He continued to do it anyways, and he's not in jail. I mean, any one of us normal people would be in jail right now.
Yeah, basically hid the numbers because he was afraid that it would help a federal investigation into it. Like
shocking.
Saving your own ass.
Yeah, well, and trying to make Trump look bad. And you know, throughout all this, I'm not a Trump supporter. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a Trump supporter. But you could blatantly see the Democratic states trying to ruin their own economies, trying to pump their numbers to make a president look bad that they hated. I mean, you can see it in real time because Kristi Noem from South Dakota, they didn't shut down, and their numbers are just fine. Florida, I mean, look, I'm not a Ron DeSantis guy, right? But there's some things that he did during this COVID crisis that made my heart swell, my Grinch heart swell 3 sizes bigger. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful the way he handled some of this shit and telling, you know, the rumor is he told Joe Biden to go fuck himself. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? I appreciate that because I believe in states' rights. I think that, you know, states should have their own autonomous shit and they shouldn't have to be told what to do by the federal government all the time. And especially in a time of crisis like this, you know, look at what happened with Texas, just happened, you know, and I know a lot of you guys probably don't watch Alex Jones. I'm not a big Alex Jones guy either, but We now know that due to an executive order that was signed by Trump that would have gave them extra power in Texas, that was reversed by executive order the day that Joe Biden decided to sign, I don't know, 30 or 40 executive orders in one day or 1 week. They weren't allowed to use the extra power that they had in that state. They were only allowed to try and borrow it from other states. And that was one of the biggest causes of their power shutdowns. It literally got people killed. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. There's just a lot of stuff going on in this country that the Libertarian Party should be boastful and loud and proud about. We should be going after these shitheels. We should be going after these absolute tyrants in the media, in the public, in press releases, in our campaigns, whatever it takes. We should be going after these people and letting the people who support them know what they've done to them, because a lot of people are just politically ignorant and don't understand what's going on. They just know that that's their team. And so we had a really good opportunity over the last year. We dropped the ball. I wouldn't let that happen. Had I been the chair of this party, you can guarantee that if I become the chair of this party last July, it would have been a very different messaging coming from the National Party during this crisis.
No, yeah, and a lot of people are on the same page with you with that. It's just baffling that there has not been not even an effort to criticize. The big criticizing thing is that there was none.
Our amazing, wonderful secretary, Karen Ann Harlos, she brought a motion forward to try and start a committee on messaging for the COVID crisis. And half that board shut her down, man. And I definitely voted in favor of it. I thought it was a great idea. I was like, let's craft some dope messaging, get out some awesome press releases. Let's say we're the party that supports you and your autonomous, life, your livelihood, your family. We think that you should be able to support all that stuff and make your own decisions and your own healthcare decisions. And it was shut down by half the board, man. And one of those people was the chair of the board. And so it would have been much different had I been the chair of this party, I promise.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But I agree with you. That's probably the forefront issue that should be focused on. I mean, you're right. There's a lot. There's a lot that you can unpack, but I think one of the most relatable ones is that one.
Yeah. And for me, war is always going to be a big topic, and I think that the party has been relatively quiet about the wars for a long time too. And, had you had a very staunch anti-war chairman of this party going from 2018 and 2020, messaging on the warfare state and the military industrial complex would have been a lot different as well. And that's something that we need to change. That's something that libertarians all over the country agree with the party on, is their anti-war stance, but they're not loud about it. When you have podcasters that are louder about the anti-war stance, like Scott Horton, than a national political party that's supposed to be anti-war, you have a fucking problem, Yeah. And so the messaging has just been bad. I've been the messaging candidate for a long time, and I hope that I get that opportunity in 2022.
Yeah, hopefully it does get better. Whether it's you, Angela McCardle, it doesn't matter. It just needs to get better.
Sure.
So Josh, we've been going at it for a little bit now. Why don't we get ready to wrap things up? Why don't you tell people where they can find you, where they can find the new podcast, and connect with you online?
Sure, absolutely. So find me on Twitter. That's where I go and troll the blue checks. It's a good time.
Yeah.
You can find me at Joshua at large, hashtag Tower Gang. If you ever want to watch us pull out some really cool tower posts on blue checks, that's the place to do it. We have a lot of fun on Twitter. I enjoy the platform. I still don't know how it's free. It's just too much fun to be free. And you can find the show at www.youtube.com/FightTheDespots. I'm sure you know how to spell despots, hopefully. But that's where you're going to find the show at. And that, like I said, that will be Wednesday evenings at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So corn time. And then Friday, same thing, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And we'll have really cool guests on. And hopefully we can get it started this week. If there's a hiccup, it will be the following Wednesday for sure. But we're hoping the 24th will be the first live show.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you get your computer. I'm hoping this doesn't come down to the wire.
If it goes one more week, I'm just going to have to put out a Twitter post and say, look, I'm really sorry, guys, but we're going to have to wait one more week. There's nothing I can do about it. My processor now just won't run the awesome video that I'm trying to give everybody. I'm not going to put out a shitty product on my very first podcast and be like, oh, it'll get better next week. I'm going to do it right, because I put a year into planning for this and I want it to be done right. So hopefully it comes out and everybody's happy with it. And if it doesn't on Wednesday, it'll be the following week. Hopefully I don't lose half my YouTube followers prior to that.
All right, man. Well, hey, my heartfelt thanks for coming on to FritzCast and having this conversation, man. I thought it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. When I get the show up and running, man, we'll have to schedule you for an episode on Break the Cycle.
I am more than down for it.
Sounds good, brother. Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, that was Joshua Smith on the FritzCast. Get ready for his show, Break the Cycle. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully he has his computer by Wednesday. Hopefully he does, but I've seen delivery systems suck, worse than anything this year. That's just the price of coronavirus times and all that. But hopefully we'll be sitting down by the end of this week and enjoying Break the Cycle with Joshua Smith and the plethora of guests that he's getting ready to have on and all that. And on a live program, no less either. That's not a knock at my program for not being live, but live, because live is awesome. So be sure to visit Josh's links. Catch him on Twitter, especially on Twitter. Twitter is the stomping grounds of liberty, if you know what I mean. This is where, it's the shit posting stomping grounds, but it's fun nonetheless. So check those out. And remember, you can check me out at FritzQS, Facebook.com/TheFritzCast for the Facebook page, fritzcast.webnode.com for the website and blog stuffs. And guys, as always, the one way that you can help me, the one thing that you can do that's easy as shit. Down below, there's a share button, there's a rate button, a review button, a thumbs up. There's something below where I am if you're watching video. If you're listening to the podcast, whatever app you're in, there's a method in which that you can leave me a review. And that helps out the show tremendously. People sharing the show brings in more audience tremendously. Doesn't cost a dime. And if it's content that you really love, put it out there, because you never know who you're going to tap into, what they're going to hear, and what could possibly bring people to the libertarian movement, the liberty movement, or at least starting to see bridges and relationships that they can build with people with this stuff, which is very, very important. It's very important, and it's very lacking right now. And this is the time that we can build coalitions and friendships and really start planting the seeds of liberty in people's minds. So let's do it. Let's just stop talking about it. Let's do it. Push the share button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. It's there. There's a button. Do it. Don't think about it. Just do it. Guys. It's going to do it for me for this week. Next week, we either have Brian Nichols or a solo episode. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen yet. But remember, I love you, and I'll see you next time.